Mystic Path to Cosmic Power by Vernon Howard. Chapter 13. Some Pleasant Surprises About Yourself. Many years ago, a book published in the Arabian language swept over Europe to become the favorite reading of kings and citizens alike. Entitled Hayy Ibn Yaqdhan, it was written by a mystic and physician named Ibn Tufail, who lived in Seville, Spain. So great was the demand for Hayy Ibn Yaqdhan that it was translated into English, Spanish, French, German, Dutch. What made it so fascinating to everyone? It aroused the sleeping powers within readers, shaking and guiding them toward inner release and employment of their mystical forces. The book told of a man who found himself alone on a deserted island, completely on his own. Making up his mind to solve the secrets of both the spiritual and natural worlds, he went to work, and succeeded brilliantly. Without aid from people or books, he found within himself he needed for the victorious life. You have the mental and psychic energy you need for a triumphant day, every day. But to avoid wastage, let's take an example of useless thinking. It is when people worry, but what can I do about my accumulated difficulties? Never forget this simple but remarkable reality. The more you walk toward the mountain, the more you walk away from the desert. This means you need attend only to where you are going, not to where you are or where you have been. As long as you are headed for the mountains, what slightest concern need you have for the scorched desert? The desert is not your home. The mountaintop is your dwelling place. A tremendous gush of energy pushes you forward once you realize that everything you do is done for your own sake. The ordinary man does not really see this. What little work he does is done from an annoying sense of required duty, or because it satisfies his imaginary image of being a sincere seeker. There is no energy in this. On the contrary, it is a burdensome drain on natural forces. The gush of fresh power comes from sighting that we are actually working for ourselves. You have abundant energy now. Picture yourself surrounded by a number of small pools, each representing a different type of energy. A sign above each identifies them as emotional energy, mental energy, sex energy, social energy, physical energy, and so on. During the day, you draw from each as you feel the need. You use mental energy to complete a business project. You draw from social energy to have a good time at a party. The well-balanced person has plenty of energy to do whatever he wishes. Anyone wishing the energetic life must first aim at inner unity, which releases his powers. Unity removes the cover on this pool or that, making available the energy previously denied. It is useless to try to create energy by artificial means, such as trying to enjoy a party by being the witty clown. Energy flows from in to out, never from out to in. When you grow tired of a certain activity, it merely means you have temporarily used up that particular pool of energy. When this happens, you should simply go along with nature to a different activity, which calls upon another pool, permitting the previous pool to refresh itself. When tired of mental work, do something physical. When weary of entertainment that exhausts the emotions, turn to reading requiring careful thought. You won't need to think about changing an activity. It happens by itself whenever a pool is exhausted. Just be aware of the signal and follow it. Although this is a natural process, conscious understanding of it provides release and relief. A businessman can abandon his hard drive without feeling that he is lazy. A tired mother can set the children aside for a while without feeling neglectful of them. Discouraged people say, "I know I'm supposed to try, but I've tried until I'm exhausted. I know I must persist, but it's been weary years. I'm like a man who persistently tries to open a lock with the wrong key." True, nothing is more tiring than fumbling with the wrong key. That is why this book emphasizes the need for understanding basic psychological facts. With them, our patient work pays profit. Here is a psychological fact to understand. A weak person will try to drain the strength of a stronger individual. There are dozens of tricks by which the weak one will attempt to draw power to which he is not entitled. He may chatter endlessly, unload a sense of guilt through accusing another, boast, ask personal questions, and so on. Be alert to this. Refuse absolutely to let anyone drain your energies. At a certain point in your psychic development, you can walk among the weakest of men and be the strongest of men. Be very careful that you do not unconsciously assume that nervous tension is power. This is vital. Watch yourself the next time you work towards some goal. Look very closely to discover tense feelings and nervous thoughts whirling around inside. Do not let them deceive you into assuming that they are creative forces. They are not. They are thieves of genuine powers. As always, your awareness of their thievery is your first fine step toward casting them out. Half the time I forget why I am working on myself. It weakens my effort. What is your life like now, and how would you like it to be? See the contrast in the two. Keep the difference in mind. That energizes you. Why you should please yourself. Remember, every cosmic fact has 1,000 times more significance than appears at first. It is like following a narrow trail that leads to a beautiful valley. Recall our previous investigation of time. The present moment is all there is. There isn't anything else. Reality is whatever thought or feeling or event we experience now. We may think about an unhappy past or hopeful future, but we think about them now. Yesterday and tomorrow do not exist except as this moment's memory or anticipation. To try to live in them creates illusion and conflict. Happiness is truly now or never. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius. This is of overwhelming significance. Your day is never the same once you see it. All is magnificently transformed. You cease the vain attempt to run away from fear and sorrow and become aware of them as present experiences, which magically removes them. No longer are you anxious toward your future, for you no longer insist that it conform to past pleasurable experiences, so every new second is lived completely and carefree. You see that there is really no choice but to live fully right now, and so strain and struggle fall away. The man who sees this is like a seabird whose wings are weary of the back and forth flight over the empty sea. He knows no alternative but to return to the mast of the advancing ship, and in so doing finds the very restful progress he sought. The facts that free us to live richly are often shocking to our smug ego armor. None is more disturbing to some people than this one. You must not live with a calculated motive of pleasing other people. Such motive is ego-centered. It expects some kind of reward. When the reward fails to come, as it often does, the so-called pleasantness turns to secret resentment. There are dozens of solid reasons why you should seek to please yourself first, rather than others. Here are just a few. Only when you are genuinely pleased with yourself can you establish permanent pleasantness with others. It maintains your health and integrity as a human being. It relieves you of the tension involved in pleasing people who are incapable of being pleased. Others sense the strength of your independence, which encourages their own development. Because in your heart, you know it must be done. It is an interesting psychological law. You must place yourself first, after which you have the strength and wisdom to please others properly. "A great man is coming to eat at my house," wrote Emerson. "I do not wish to please him. I wish that he should wish to please me." Summary. Please yourself, your real self. Move out! Picture a man living alone in a rundown shack in the middle of the burning desert. All around is dryness and desolation. His days are pointless, and his nights are lonely. Every morning he ventures forth to find something interesting to do, but his day goes nowhere. A friend calls to hear the complaint. What's the matter with me? Here I am, a perfectly normal and intelligent human being making an effort to enrich myself. I start off every morning with good intentions, but find nothing. What's wrong? The friend replies, very simple. You start your search from the wrong place, the desert. You can't get water or fruit or friendship here. So what do I do? Move. Change your headquarters. To where? To the rich valley over the mountain. Then all will be different. Everything depends upon where you are living from. How do I know such a rich valley actually exists? Go there for yourself. But I'm so used to this place. As miserable as it is, it's become a habit. Yes, that's your main problem. You prefer your comfortable misery. Shake yourself. Get going. Move out. What an adventure awaits the man or woman who does this. You see, everything depends upon the psychological headquarters from which we live. If we dwell in the desert of negative feelings and defeated thoughts, we then experience their barrenness. A man who frets over his financial affairs, regardless of what they actually are, is living from a psychological desert. So is the woman who worries over her youth or beauty. What kind of thinking gradually but faithfully moves us over to the bountiful valley? Examples. Genuine aid awaits you right now. There is no problem without a solution. No person nor event has power to harm you. Your entire life can change magically. Where am I living from? Ask yourself that question. If you don't like your headquarters, you can move anytime you like. Break away. Don't tell anyone about it. Others will either smile tolerantly or mouth sanctimonious babble. Make your escape plans in secret. Never mind if you lose certain friends. You need to lose them, and the sooner the better. In time, you will find others who also have dared. They will be 10,000 times more valuable to you. Half the battle is won when a man awakens enough to see that he does not live freely, but rather lives as a slave to his own negative emotions and to society's tyrannical demands. That awareness sounds the battle cry of freedom. Search out the truth for yourself. You are perfectly capable of doing just that. Don't believe something just because someone tells you it is true. Refuse glittering promises which have given you, as you well know, nothing but a broken heart. Stand on the integrity of your own mind. That is the only way in the whole world you will ever rest in inner tranquility in a troubled society. It is the sure way and the way you really want to walk. The only reason you do not do great things is because you timidly cling to small things. Will you let loose of small things and bear the uncertainty of having nothing for a while? Do this, and eventually you will do great things. How to melt unhappy feelings. There is a way to make unhappiness a thing of the past. It works every time, if you will but work with it. If men and women could only see what negative feelings do to them. They are a terrible drain upon time and energy and health. They are thieves of your right to be a carefree human being. By negative feeling, I mean an emotion causing distress. It might be gloominess, a feeling that life is pointless, self-dislike, hurt feelings, nervousness, anything painful. Try to search out your own particular negativities. That is fine self-responsibility. Before supplying the 3 steps to dismissal, I want to add a personal note. I have spent many years in persistent exploration of these ideas, which resulted in definite discoveries. I want to pass them on to you in their simplest and most practical form. I know for a fact that your own persistent pursuit will give you the liberty of spirit for which you yearn. Whenever you feel distressed. 1. Try to become fully aware of the negative feeling. 2. See that it is in you, not in exterior conditions. 3. Do not take it as part of your true self. Firstly, the moment you feel unhappy, you should stop and look at it. Just take a good look. Even though you are physically busy at office or home, mentally pause to become aware that it is there. This is more important than you can imagine. You see, you cannot destroy a negative feeling if you are unaware of it. It is like a rancher who cannot rid his range of roving wolves because he cannot find their den. Secondly, realize that the distress is in you, not in anything exterior to yourself. No person has ever made you unhappy. No loss of employment, no shame or embarrassment, no failure, Nothing outside you has the slightest power to disturb you. Negative feelings are your feelings. An exterior challenge may certainly arise, but vow react to it. You unconsciously permit an exterior event to tell you how to feel. But you will do that no longer. You are tired of getting jerked this way and that, like a helpless puppet. Thirdly, never, never, never take the negativity as part of the essential you, the true self. It is not a part of your original nature, for that nature is free right now, and always has been free. If you do not have this freedom, it is because you identify with the feeling, you react, I am distressed. Having mistakenly said it, you suffer. Instead, see the negativity as a tiger walking through your mind, as entirely separate from you, not as a tiger housed within your mind. Whenever distress arises, say, that painful tiger is walking through my mind, but is certainly not a part of the essential me. Repeat this tremendous truth 1,000 times if necessary, whenever you feel unhappy. You have just covered information that might otherwise take you a lifetime to discover in the hard way. For your own sake, do things the easy way. There is no need for you to be unhappy about anything. And I mean anything. So work with the 3 basic steps. You will know what it means to live as a carefree human being. How to regain natural liberty. I want to be independent of other people. I don't like wanting something from them along with the fear that I won't get it. This is torture. Force yourself to act differently than usual. Notice your habitual behavior, then do the exact opposite. This isn't easy at first. Your deeply entrenched habits will scream in protest. Don't give in. Act toward people in an opposite way. Exactly how? Suppose you habitually do lots of nice things for people. Stop it. Do the reverse. Let them be nice to you for a change. No, I am not advocating unniceness. I want you to pause in your usual efforts at niceness, to observe your innermost motives for doing them. You may discover, for instance, a desperate need to be liked, which is pain. Your observation gradually frees you from this desperate bargaining. This is secret magic. Let people be nice to you for a change. What a relief that would be. Children know this secret. A child enters the room. Everyone enters his world. He won't enter yours. As adults, we can regain this natural liberty. But my show of independence might cause me to lose someone I desire. You must have great courage to escape this painful trap. You meet someone who is pleasant, say someone of the opposite sex. He or she makes you feel good, so you try to hold him or her. But something happens so that you no longer meet. You agonize. Try to see that in reality, you are just as free of this person now as when you first met him or her. Tired of desperation? Then work with this. Suppose you placed heavy blocks in front of a powerful jet airplane, then opened the jets full blast. What would happen? The airplane would shake itself to pieces. It would not be able to bear the contradictory forces. Man is like that. Loaded with power, but blocked by psychic contradictions, he is unable to speed forward into flight. He remains in a fixed place where he shakes himself to pieces. To remove psychic blocks, ask yourself, what would it be like if I acted and reacted opposite to my usual way? I usually get upset, so what would it be like if I simply did not? I usually shoot out an impulsively swift reply to a disturbing remark from another, so how would I feel if I dropped this habitual response? I am living anxiously, but what is it like to live without tension? Ask such questions over and over, putting as much understanding as possible into them. See that you may be wrongly assuming that a familiar response is the only possible response. It is not. The whole idea is to glimpse a fresh form of reaction to daily challenges. Along with your new response comes delightful self-command. Why should you do this? Because you will feel better. Your goal is total living. One effective way to get ahead is to examine carefully any new idea we feel inclined to resist. The reason for resistance is the ego self's fear of its own destruction at the hands of a truthful idea. Go against your own inclinations. This does not mean that we gullibly accept anything that conies along. It means we courageously examine a new idea until it reveals itself one way or another, just as we might study a treasure map for authenticity. Tell the truth boldly to yourself, disregarding the discomfort which will surely arise. Though unpleasant for the moment, your conscious pain, like taking a bitter dose of medicine, dismisses unconscious suffering from your day. Now I must review one of the very worst enemies preventing you from living victoriously. The enemy is pretense. Pretense is always involved in unhappiness. Try to see this. Men and women pretend about everything. The ego self is fantastically tricky. It even pretends that it is not pretending. Nothing cuts off happiness more than the false claim that it already exists within oneself. The big mistake is self-deceptive labeling. A man is active, or successful, or educated, and calls it happiness. It isn't. That is like placing a peach label on a can of sauerkraut and expecting a peach pie. The mystic path gently but firmly calls upon us to stop pretending. We must willingly face the crisis of seeing that we are not really happy. We must stick with this shocking fact and not try to evade it. Stick with it, examine it, not with fear, but with curiosity. By so doing, we at last solve a great esoteric mystery. Conscious awareness of unhappiness destroys it forever. Remember, all unhappiness is unconscious. That is, we are unaware of how unhappy we really are. So become more conscious of the way you actually feel. Consciousness is happiness. As pretense goes away, self-defeating compromise also goes. We compromise with people because we think we must do so in order to get what we need. But any need requiring compromise is false. You can expose it as false by refusing absolutely to compromise with anyone or anything. Yes, you may have to hold your breath and plunge into unknown waters, but that is how to be born anew. Be not the slave of your own past. Plunge into the sublime seas, dive deep and swim far. So shall you come back with self-respect, with new power, with an advanced experience that shall explain and overlook the old. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Here is the way back. Place total living before intellectual gymnastics. That solves everything. Deep within, you know how to live fully. You have always known. You knew it in childhood before hypnotized people misled you. Whenever you don't understand life, dismiss your mind and live without straining to understand. Total living is understanding, just as you understand an apple by handling, tasting, eating. Why ask about an apple? Just eat it. It is for health and enjoyment, and so is life. We learn what life is all about when we dare to live simply, directly, without needing to know anything. This is not a paradox. It is a beautiful state. 2 things you can do. How does all this connect with emotional aches, like dejection? Dejection occurs when one suddenly sees through his own play acting. Pretense is a major feature of the false sense of self. A man pretends to others that he is strong and wise. He loses his wife or girlfriend in a quarrel. This shatters his pretense and drops him into gloom. Dejection must periodically break through as long as we identify with the false self. But it becomes absolutely impossible when falseness is dissolved in insight. It is as impossible as it is for a non-existent man to have a headache. We will never solve a single confusion, nor conquer a pain permanently, nor burst a point of pressure, until we see that all such problems originate in pretense, pictures of who we are. It is overwhelmingly necessary to think constantly and deeply about this. No matter where we go, regardless of all the books we read and lectures we attend, until we have at least a glimpse of this esoteric secret, we will miss the mark. You are not who you think you are. You are someone entirely different. That someone is the person you want to be, sunny, healthy, without the slightest concern about tomorrow, just like a child. Can a man honestly see that he is in psychological prison? That is the question. We cannot escape from self-imprisonment unless we observe it as a fact. Does he get upset when things go wrong? That is one cell of psychological prison. Does he harbor secret resentments and antagonisms? That is another. Is he bound by mechanical habits which he can neither break nor endure? Does he suffer at the hands of daily incidents? Is he afraid of himself? All this is what is meant by psychological jail. No man or woman can enjoy life in this condition. Even his pleasures are surrounded by anxieties. He is like a prisoner in a real jail who plays baseball in the prison yard, but who realizes that he will end up that night in the same cell. We can only enjoy the game of life when we are both consciously and unconsciously outside the wall. There is a way over the wall. If we can become alertly aware of our psychic imprisonment, that by itself moves us closer to freedom. The ending of unconscious imprisonment is the beginning of conscious liberty. When faced with the seeming imprisonment of life, you can do one of two things. You can sink in despair, or you can laugh. Most people sink. You be different. Laugh. You have broken through. You should drift comfortably. You should live like a man drifting comfortably downstream, letting the river turn in whatever direction it likes. Such a man drifts in perfect comfort and security as long as he does not fight the river, unless he insists that it should bend left instead of right. This profound secret for easy living is summarized in the New Testament with, "Resist not evil." When this esoteric truth infills a man, he ceases to resist anything. He rests comfortably, regardless of the turns of life. We do not spend enough time in just drifting through life without plan or purpose. We have it all figured out, and if we find 1 minute of the day unfilled, we anxiously devise an artificial activity to get past it. That is the terror of the man who has not found himself. He is afraid to face his own seeming emptiness. Don't dread to drift through your inner life. Don't be afraid of having nothing to think about. Here is your very deliverance from all the strains and tensions of the day. An unplanned inner life will not harm your necessary activities in the exterior world. As a matter of fact, they will shine with new brightness. You need not plan your inner day. It is already planned for you, and delightfully so. Be willing to drift. It is what you really want. A willingness to wander reveals the true nature of things, as Taoism teaches. By getting our rigid human plans out of the way, we find, amazingly, that our life is lived for us, and we are glad at last. But I can't just drift through life. Why can't you? A man must have a purpose, a goal. What is your purpose? I don't know. It changes every day. I have never known what I want. Maybe the purpose of life is something entirely different from what you think it is. Have you ever considered that possibility? Maybe you are on the edge of a great secret. By drifting through life, you don't mean irresponsibility. No. You will want to take full responsibility for your family and finances and other everyday things. The point is to not live internally from fixed and habitual attitudes, but rather to be loose, flexible to change for the better. Then, a man becomes a better husband, father, citizen. But what is the purpose of life? You can state it in several ways, but they all mean the same thing. The purpose is to find the true self, to grow spiritually, to develop into conscious and awakened human beings. When we seek first the kingdom of heaven, all other purposes are added to us, like loving someone and being loved. I sense you are trying to tell me something of great significance, but I don't grasp it as welcome it. Let it come. It will. Vital ideas in this chapter to think about. 1. Release your hidden energies by grasping the principles of the mystic path. 2. Remember your aim of self-transformation. 3. Please yourself properly. 4. Break away from limited living. You are capable of great achievements. 5. A carefree day can be yours. 6. Realize that there are new ways of reacting to life. Such realization is power. 7. Tell the truth boldly to yourself. 8. Do not strain to understand life. Just live. 9. A pleasant surprise of the mystic path is your newness as a person. 10. When you see what it means to drift comfortably through life, that's just what you do.